What's up, guys? Drew here. Welcome back to Starting Out Solitary. It's week 252, and we are discussing using planets in our practice. And this is something that I do fairly regularly, actually, a lot of the time. Not only do I take this into account with my actual magical practice and spiritual practice, but my business. I have a small business. It's a witchy business. I make my product according to moon phase and daily astrological influence, which means, okay, just for anybody who doesn't know real quick, all the planets have correspondences. They have things they rule over. And then each day of the week is also associated with a planet. So it has a particular energy depending on the planet ruling it and things that it's good for. And I also take moon phase into account. So those properties shift a bit depending on, if it's waxing or waning. But I think you get the gist. There's also this concept of planetary hours, which I love and work with on a fairly regular basis. Not as regular as daily astrological influence, because that's easier. It's more broad. It's a full day to look at. With the planetary hours, not only is the day ruled by a planet, but each hour of the day is ruled by a different planet as well. It can get quite complicated. It's actually not complicated, but me just sitting here and trying to explain it to you without any reference or anything could be a little complicated. So there's plenty of information out there about it. Feel free to engage if you have not and you have no concept of what it is I'm talking about. But it's fairly easy to come by and to work with. And essentially the idea is that the day is ruled by a planet. So it has particular properties in that, or correspondences, things, energies, things that is good for, right? But then each hour is also ruled. So if I wanted to heal a family member, Sunday and Friday would both be good days that I could do that, as Sunday would be associated with healing and Friday would be associated with family, among many other things for both. But either way, whichever one I chose, if I wanted to get really, really specific, like if I chose Sunday, I could choose the Venus hour, which will happen more than once, but the Venus hour on Sunday, so that the day is for healing and that hour is for family. For me, it's very much about riding the energetic tides and not swimming against them when I do this kind of thing. Having said that, if I need to do a working right now, I'm going to do a working right now. I'm not going to care what the day is or what planetary hour it is or whatever. But if I can plan something out in advance, I absolutely will take into account the planets and their influence. And that's, I'm also talking about the sun and the moon, even though, of course, particularly the moon, neither of those are actually planets. I still put they're celestial bodies, they're heavenly bodies. I put them in that category loosely as well. And really, Monday and Sunday are Sunday's ruled by the sun and Monday's ruled by the moon. So even though they're not technically planets, moon is a satellite, sun is a star, they still have great influence energetically, celestially, magically. Now, again, you do not have to take these things into account at all for your magic to be successful. I just like all my little ducks to be in a row. And I do feel like everything is connected and that everything holds influence over one another or interacts and subtly can provide support or not. For example, I'm not a huge Mercury retrograde person. Like, I don't notice that it has a huge effect on me. And that probably, in my mind, has to do with my birth chart and where Mercury is and, what happens when Mercury goes into retrograde. I really do believe it's different for every individual. So that may also, I'm almost positive, come into play when it comes with working with the planets as well. There may be certain planets, because of where they are in my houses in my birth chart, that are much more powerful for me in my magic than others, which, now that I'm saying that out loud, I have to figure it out. I'm going to have to look and try to figure out my power planets now. Back to the topic at hand. I do personally work with the planets in both my spiritual practice and even more so in my magical practice. And I can see now that I can dive even deeper into that, and I'm absolutely going to. But it isn't necessary, and if you're not interested, you're not into it, it doesn't make sense or resonate, then of course that's fine too. This is just my own personal experience. I love working with planetary energies. There's something very solid about it. It's also very ritualistic in its own way. I don't know. It's like you have energetic support. It's like you've got, I don't know. Another way that you could possibly work with planetary energy, of course, is just by evoking the specific deity associated with the planets on top of anything else you might be doing. I don't usually typically do that, but I have on occasion. There are certain gods and goddesses that I already have relations with, so I may call them in as a little, extra energetic layer for my working. But yeah, basically I love working with planetary energy. If you have not done so before and it sounds interesting to you, I recommend it completely, because when I first came into Planetary Hours, for example, I just heard the concept. I didn't know anything about it, and I looked into it a little bit and I decided to go for it, and I did this spell. I can't even remember what the working was. Honestly, it's been so long ago now, and I didn't. In the very beginning of my practice, I kept track of my spell work, and then for a long time I didn't. I do again now, but for many years I didn't, so I honestly don't remember what it was, but laid it all out Planetary Hour and was very ritualistic, and that was one of the most powerful spells I've ever done. I don't even remember the outcome, obviously, because I don't remember the spell, but what I do remember is in the working, and as I finished up the working, feeling so... You know that feeling when your magic is just on, and it was on. I do not work with Planetary Hours every time. As I said, most often I actually don't. But if I can plan it far enough in advance, if I know I have this working coming that I want to do, I will absolutely use Planetary Hours. And at the very least, I try to use daily astrological influence and moon phase, because I just feel better about it. I feel good about it. But again, magic is magic, and you can do magic anytime. All right, I'm going to stop talking now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, much love and gratitude.